We trust the supermarkets. We put our faith in them to sell meat and animal products they've carefully sourced. We assume they've checked how they've been produced. But for many products, supermarkets aren't checking how the animal ingredients were produced or to what standards. This oversight is contributing to a global health crisis considered to be as big a threat to humanity as climate change: antibiotic resistance.
People don't understand how often in their lives are saved by antibiotics. Probably once as a child and once as a young adult, you take a course of antibiotics. It might be a chest infection, a urinary tract infection, an infection in your tonsils. As is the case at the moment, if we find that we are unable to use most current antibiotics, which is going to happen soon, we're already seeing this quite often in the hospital, we will see a lot more deaths due to infection of young people, including children. We don't really have any clear understanding of how much antibiotic use is in animals, but it is certainly the vast, vast majority. What that means is that animals are getting antibiotics and they're getting them at low doses, and a low dose of antibiotics is exactly the right conditions to allow those genes for resistance to really flourish and spread. And once you have an animal, like a cow or a chicken, covered in bacteria and full of bacteria in the gut that are resistant to multiple antibiotics, those bugs get into human beings.
Supermarkets are so influential over how our food is produced in the UK. The top 10 supermarkets really dominate the groceries market in the UK. The top 4 control 75% of the entire groceries market. 98% of people in the UK shop at a supermarket twice or more a month.
For the last few years, the Alliance to Save Antibiotics has been looking at the UK supermarkets' antibiotics policies to see which supermarkets have got good commitments about controlling antibiotic use in their supply chains. Since we've started this project, we have noticed that their policies have been getting better. But what we've done differently this year is we've looked in detail at the scope of these policies. So we wanted to know how much of what they're selling is actually covered by them. The supermarket policies are generally only covering UK-sourced own brand produce. But once it gets into processing or once it gets into branding, it's a bit of a different picture. So some of the supermarkets are including imports in their antibiotics policies, but it's not all of them. So that means there's only certain things that you can be really sure that are covered by their responsible antibiotic use policies, and we think that needs to change.
The UK imports £9 billion of meat, dairy and eggs each year, with much of this ending up on the UK supermarket shelves. This investigation shows that a lot of this is not meeting the same guidelines that the supermarkets have laid down for UK producers. The government isn't asking for responsible antibiotic use in trade deals. And as long as the government is failing to do this, it falls to supermarkets to ensure that what's on their shelves has been produced without the misuse of antibiotics, regardless of where it has come from. As consumers, we can demand this.
The one thing that would make a huge difference to the health of our food system is if the supermarkets that shaped it, that dominated it, accepted the fact that they actually have a huge amount of control over what we buy and how it is produced, rather than the idea that they are only responding to demand. What can they do? They just have to give shoppers what they're looking for, and if that's cheap meat reared on excessive use of antibiotics, then so be it. If one supermarket could just take responsibility for their position and say, you know what, this is a global issue, this is hugely worrying, it has huge potential to damage human health, animal health and the environment, and we're going to put a stop to it. I'd hope that the others would step forward and recognise that they too have the power to make that change.
Sign our petition and tell the UK supermarkets to ban antibiotic misuse from all their products and supply chains.